Welcome to a special video-only edition of the Shaggy Jenkins Show. This one done exclusively for PurTV. Hi, I am your host, Shaggy Jenkins. Guy with a lot of questions, problem solver, observer of life, all-around swell gentleman. If you have never met me before, hi, how's it going? This is my real-life face. I know a lot of people probably have imagined a name like Shaggy Jenkins would be taller, stonier, or something like that. But nope, this is how I look. And when my friend Ron asked me to do a little special segment for his online network, I jumped at the opportunity for extra work to cram into my week of being a program director, of being a show host of the Shaggy Jenkins Show. You can hear it on the Pacifica Radio Network across the country. If you're here in Maui, yay, you get to see my home Paradise Isle, where me and my cast of crazies, all the interns and volunteers and stuff that make up KAKU, put together our wonderful shows and really kind of live together happily like some sort of weird hobbit family from a Tolkien novel. Now that you've got a brief background on what I am and who I am, let's get into what I do. I like to take a look at the news, not only from a modern perspective, but a cultural perspective, a scientific perspective, and this is the one that's most important, at least in my book, a historical perspective. Because a lot of times we forget little things like, how did we get here? And if you listen to my podcast, if you listen to this show on Pacifica, you know, or even if you've seen some of my other YouTube video shows, you know that how did we get here is kind of one of the big burning questions I try to ask with everyday news. So let's look at, right now, one of the biggest news stories of modern memory is, of course, gun control in the United States. Or should I say, guns? They still hurt people? Look, the argument has been framed, at least recently, that people have too much access to too many guns with too little restrictions. And I'm not just saying that from all of the news that is floating out there in the corporate media world and stuff like that. I say that from a perspective of polls. And a lot of polls lately have overwhelmingly been favoring, from the American citizen's perspective, gun control, gun legislation, and at least some sort of unified system of background checks that allows us to keep dangerous weapons away from dangerous people. Now, what constitutes a dangerous person is still up for debate. However, there are a few guidelines I think that we can all agree on. All right, let's go with those guidelines. If A, you have ever been involved with a fundamentalist theological movement that does use as a part of its central message either isolation, segregation, or elimination of other races, I'm thinking somewhere along the lines, you should possibly be put on a watch list. Okay? I'm just saying. All right. Now, if that sounds a little foggy and gray for you, let's go a step further. Would we all agree that somebody that has been in conversations with the FBI for alleged ties to other people, not other groups or armies or factions or foreign dictators and potentates, no, to other individuals only that also wish to elicit attention through harm and pandemonium? If the FBI has ever interviewed you for links along those lines of some sort of collusion of harm for a political message or a gain, or just, to be an ass, you should be on a watch list. Now, that one's a little bit more easier to agree. Now, of course, we can all agree that if you come from a country illegally, you should not ever be allowed to buy a gun in this country, even at gun shows, which should require a background check, at least a rudimentary background check, before you are allowed to buy guns and knives from traveling gun shows, which a lot of times skirt the state regulations of gun control anyway. They exist in this whole quasi-legal, is it not territory. Gun shows do. So common sense would say, yeah, maybe we should tie up that little loophole. It would stop the guns from getting to the bad people. Because there are some people that we should universally agree should not have guns. And if you are somebody that says, well, what about the people that have done wrong in their past and turned their life around? Then if they've done a good job of turning their life around, they can live in a world without their gun ownership. Now, why would I, a traditionally Southern guy that, let's just face it, I have my own arsenal, y'all. Long rifles, pistols, bullets. I own guns. Why would a guy like me be talking about gun control to people like you? It's very simple. The mentality and the generation that I was raised in had a different relationship with guns as objects than we do here in the year 2016. If you come from some of the more rural parts of the United States, some of the more, dare I say, hickish and backwood parts of the United States, your relationship with firearms is inherently different than people from urban centers, from places where hunting is not really a big thing, either as a sport or as a necessity. There's two different relationships that we have, two different gun cultures that we have in the United States. One of them, and it's the background that I like to claim I come from, is the gun as a utilitarian tool, as a means to accomplish a function. That function is akin to something like a screwdriver or a hammer. You need food on plate, bam, gun helps. Because I don't know if you've done this before, chasing down deer, very hard to put them in a headlock. Good luck with that. That's why our ancestors stole the gunpowder technology from the Middle East so long ago, from the Chinese and stuff, during the spice trade routes. We took all that technology and said, hey, what would happen if we put a projectile in there? Guns! That's the whole reason we did that in the first place. And the area that I come from always treats a gun as a tool. And because it is treated as a tool, everybody that has to use said tool is given a certain amount of vocational training about the care and handling of that tool. And they understand that it being a tool, it is only used to accomplish its task, not for the harm of other people. And I know what you're saying, Shaggy, that's a little ridiculous. People get attacked with hammers all the time. Ha-ha. But that's not a hammer's intended use, and then where my culture comes from, that's not a gun's intended use. In modern society, though, the gun has been glorified in everything from movies, from TV shows, to hip-hop videos and stuff, as the gun as an authoritarian object, versus the power of reputation, mind, and intellect being our influence. And that's kind of sad. So when we look at a guy like me telling you that guns should be controlled, regulated a little bit better than they are now, please understand that I'm doing that from an educational perspective. Not everyone sees the gun as the tool that it is. And that's why we have things like the AR-15 and weapons that are intentionally meant to look more intimidating than they are effective as the tools they are supposed to be. So think about gun regulation, and if you're somebody that's very pro-gun, analyze your relationship with the gun. Are you using it as a tool or as an object of authoritarianism? And if you're somebody that's anti-guns, ask yourself, but what about the hunters? And maybe think you're a little right. Some guns shouldn't be in the hands of others. I'll see you next time.